This is week 3 of the 4th Density Survival Series. And in this week, it's a very interesting turn. Like I was literally just saying 2 seconds ago, we're kind of switching, not necessarily templates, but we're switching frequencies in the body this week. The first couple weeks were very much about resetting an emotional template, resetting what I would call maybe even judgment centers or places in the body in which we will ignite or use gut instinct or elements of our judgment to ultimately ignite those intuitive abilities. And so in the first couple of weeks, we were on a very, very deliberate path of kind of clearing out old density, dead emotion, restarting certain places, especially like with that spleen, which I think was week 1. The spleen for many people is one of the most dense and sort of damp areas in the emotional body. And so we went through a couple of weeks of working through those systems. And now here we are. We're going to be moving into just a little bit of a different template, like I just said. And so over the past couple weeks, we've worked in a very deliberate way to open up some of the emotional pathways in the body, as well as creating a space for the activation of the next stage of our gut instinct and intuitive abilities. Because these are you guys have heard me say this a million times, and I'm going to say it a million times more. When I begin to start gaining awareness and treating and opening and learning about these pathways in my own world, that was literally when it seemed like years of density came out of my body. All sorts of things changed. I mean, literally, it's an absolute transformation. And not to instantly go on a crazy rant, but for some of you guys that know me on Facebook or through social media, I mean, you can literally go back on my timeline and see it for yourself. There's another person there about 3 or 4 years ago. And a lot of us are having that experience right now, where as soon as we start to open up awareness of these additional layers of the body, it's like our entire timeline, our life changes, the body changes. And so it's part of the reason why we're here. It's also the reason why we're doing those castor oil packs, which we'll be talking about more later. You guys know I've been ranting all month about them pretty much. But today we're going to be draining, healing, and tuning. Yes, tuning. Very important keyword. 2 of your most vital pathways. Actually, more than 2. Technically, we're going all over the place. You can see it on the screen again. But 2 of the most vital pathways when it comes to intensity, fear, anxiety, that fight or flight instinct, that punch, when something gets crazy and you get that boom, oh God, what, one way or the other. It's not always fight or flight. Sometimes it's an extreme emotion. So it's how we react. And most importantly, literally the best part of the kidneys, honestly, and I have experienced this in my own life directly. Many of us have, how our bodies age on Earth. In my opinion, there's an additional channel that works with the Kidney Meridian that has so much to do with how our bodies age, the ancestral DNA and when it activates, and just so many things that we'll get there. Before I go, I'm just going to start going on and on about it. You can see it down there, guys. It's called the Chong Mai. But anyway, today our primary focus, it's on the kidney and the bladder meridians. And so we're also going to be working, once again, I know this is a meridian class, but honestly, I don't believe that you're going to get these connections in many other places at this stage of the journey, or I have not seen many others making these connections. But, in 4th density, the chakra system and the meridian system they become inextricably attached. They're absolutely linked. And so one of the primary places where that happens is in the Earth Star Chakra, directly linked to the kidneys, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. Then this very interesting place. I'm still learning about it as well, the functions of it, how it works, the way it flows, but it's called the Ming. It's a very important point. Some of you guys are going to open a little side window and Google it on your own right now, which is fascinating, but very, very interesting little spot. Also very linked with the kidneys, very linked with just your vital essence. And then so after that, we're going to look at, one of the most powerful yet mysterious. It is a very mysterious channel in the body. It's called the Chong Mai, aka central thrusting vessel, aka penetrating vessel, aka something else. It's got another name as well. I can't remember what it is, but and so yeah, this week's content, like I said earlier, you guys know I kind of like repeat myself all the time, but it's a little bit of a switch in tone as we enter new regions of meridian circuitry in the body. Many of us are going to begin to feel different emotions. It's inevitable. Just like I said, as soon as we start working with that urinary bladder meridian, yeah, a lot of us all of a sudden it starts just flowing and we're like, oh, I'm ready to go pee. It's very much like that when we start working with the kidneys, not so much on a physiological level, but there will be trapped emotions. And one of the ways that I kind of describe it, or sometimes one of the ways that I've noticed it feels for people, is it's like there's this towel, and the towel will be damp and wet inside us. And you know how you'll sort of twist it up and kind of wring it out at times, and at certain stages we'll start to work with, especially the kidneys. And we get these big bursts of energy through the body, and that towel starts to twist, and there's just intensity and trapped emotion and things that will exist within the like the interstitium and the fascia, and like just the physical layers of our cells start to kind of release. And for some of us, those places will hold a lot of intensity. And so there might be a few points today during our clearing where someone's going to get a jolt of anxiety. It's kind of like little bubbles that will pop along this line at times, and if it does, simply acknowledge it. Just simply go like, oh, well, okay, we're having a physiological reaction, just like, oh, wow. And so that's a really good sign that you're actually tuning into these areas of your body, because it is kind of a shift when we move into the kidneys and the bladder and also the pericardium, which is fascinating. I think that's next week. But anyway, so wherever you are in this process, I would say start today, because we always start out with kind of some weird stuff. Start today, maybe to just take some stock, literally in this moment. How do you feel right now? Just kind of feel yourself. What's your emotional template? Like, what's the condition? What are your settings on? Depending on what side of the spectrum you fall on. Some of us are in great upheaval today, others are in a state of victory. It's all kind of relative. But as we start out, take a baseline reading. Where are you at? Where does your body hurt? If it does, let's pray it doesn't. But if it does, just notice your emotions. Notice the places in your internal realm as I'm speaking. What feels tense? What feels hard? What feels sometimes anxious or worried or urgent? Or you just have to, I don't know, you just have to, come on. Like we gotta, we don't know what that is, but those are the energies that will rise up when we're working with the kidneys and the bladder. And so, yeah, urgency, intensity, and how we react to those stimulus in our day-to-day lives. That's what we're working with today. It's going to teach us a little bit about what our body has been storing in these pathways. That's what I love about clearing the meridians. I think maybe a bit more so than the chakras, although it's kind of like apples and oranges at this point, and yet it's also not, which that's a wonderful contrasting, like paradoxical statement, but it is. And that's kind of the wild nature of fourth density. But so we're going to be looking at both of those systems and going down some weird roads. But first, like I think we've done it every week now, you guys. We're going to pause in the moment, kind of press the record button on our body here. And then we're just going to look at a couple pathways. We're going to look at a couple places. But before we do that, let's kind of sink in. Allow your body to settle for a moment. We're going to create a vibration and really start that unconscious recording system in the body. And so I'd like everyone to just let go of their hips and your thighs and just really let your belly hang out, like you're just let yourself droop. Wherever you are in the world, just kind of acknowledge the moment, acknowledge this group of multidimensional beings. And maybe even as I'm talking and you're letting yourself breathe and settle, you can just scan through the images and the names once again. Even if you don't know these people here, this is our team. This is our soul group. This is a group of multidimensional travelers that we've been called back to this moment. And as we know, for each of us, it's an entirely individual reason and an entirely individual path. But we're going to synchronize that energy and allow these frequencies and this magic and what we're doing here today to take its individual course for each of us. So wherever you are, hopefully you're not driving, just close our eyes for a moment. Let your body just settle in. We're going to take 3 deep breaths, and on the 3rd breath, we're going to allow that tone, your soul's note, wherever it is in the world, let yourself vibrate and ring and harmonize. And so here we go, guys. Let's take 2 deep breaths. We'll start out with that first one in 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Hold it. And release. Let that breath go all the way down. Make that sound. It's like that steam valve in your body. Let's go one step further. One more big breath, everybody. Here we go. 3, 2. Hold it. And release. There you go. Very good. A lot of you guys are getting into that steam valve, that release. And what we're doing is that's the vagus nerve pathway. When we start to create that extended exhalation, there's a physiological thing that we're actually working with. That's that vagus nerve. Here goes the third one, guys, and let's allow that vibration to emanate from your body. This is your frequency. Be proud. Allow yourself wherever you are. Here we go. Deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Good job, everybody. Good job. Some of you guys are learning to really extend on that tone. Yes, that is a thing that I can tell. Absolutely. Um, I think we also had a couple of people are just doing it now for the first time. You guys are really starting to try it. So thank you for being real. Thank you for truly, truly developing and working with this vibration in your body. For some of us, it's still kind of a like, it's like a thing where we're still learning this process, but wherever you are, embrace it. Allow this vibration, even if it's the silent wave one. And if you guys remember last week, we, really quickly, it's almost like I threw this, okay, here's a really, more advanced, totally faith-based transmission thing that you can also do. And for some people, it's going to be instant. You're going to instantly kind of allow that, or that vapor like exhale, that silent wave release. And so whichever one works for you guys at this stage, it is pure intention, your belief, and truly allowing it. So it could be entirely different. Some of you guys are going to have your own totally different method for doing this, but what we're going to do, we're going to take a really quick detour. As you know, we have our little friend here, the Meridian man. He's going to roll in really quick. We're just going to do a super fast little review of just some of the places we've been. And as you guys will know, I go on these long rants. So let me know if you guys have questions. This is a good time before we get into some of the official stuff that we're going to be doing here today. We're just going to activate just a couple of the places that we've been so far, just so we can check them out. We're going to stay on the left side of the body just for now. I'm going to activate the heart, though, and the small intestine on the right, just to give us a little bit of a view. And yeah, it's going to be, you guys, going to be a little bit confusing. That's kind of how it is when we start looking at meridians and meridian points, and we start seeing all these crazy pathways and little spots everywhere. And we're like, whoa, how are we going to learn this? How are we going to work with this? What do these things mean? What are these frequencies? What are all these little dots? How could we possibly figure this out? It's so, it's so complex. And yet, once we learn the emotional value and the experiential data that will exist within the pathway itself, we begin to develop, and we ourselves have the ability to begin to understand not only the points, but the intricacies of the energy that is contained in these pathways, and they will show themselves to you in your own way. And yet, at the same time, as I even say that, it's not like a thing you really even need to know. Because at this stage in the journey, each and every one of us is going to come to our own use of this, our own application. But if we recall from the very beginning, when we started this strange journey, we came out with our friend the stomach here. Very interesting fellow. It started at our cheek and it went all the way through the body. And we know eventually it reaches our stomach. But it's just an important thing to mention, because what we're going to find with a lot of these meridians, as you guys learn them, they will begin or they will branch off into very fascinating and entirely different places on the body. Each of them plays a very particular role. But after that, we also saw our friend, the spleen meridian, which for many of us here, as you leave this class in the coming weeks and you take whatever you get from it, you're going to know from this point forward in your life, despite whatever we've picked up or maintained or kind of, absorbed from our work with the spleen meridian in recent weeks, we will know this is one of the pathways in which your body holds difficult emotion, dense, damp, worried, catastrophizing emotions. And we'll just sort of hold them and allow them unconsciously to create a physiological result in the body. And so that spleen meridian for each and every person here is going to be just a very important thing to be made aware of. Likewise, you're also going to remember that when venting or releasing energy from many meridians, not all of them, we're going to turn to our fingers or our toes or even points at our ankles or our wrists, in which that source point energy will gather. And for each of us, it's entirely different based on a whole host of conditions in the body. But once we begin to learn just the subtle emotions and the values and the connections, and it's like we get these little clues in our own way and they start to teach us themselves. And so we also learned about the heart, which interestingly enough, you guys, it's one of the shortest meridians in the body, yet absolutely the most powerful. And so we learned, for those of us that want to access venting points or places on the body in which we can release difficult energy or create a literal antenna, we have this heart point down here at our pinky finger at the end. We also have that small intestine right on the other side, very, very related to that gut instinct. And so these are all places, just kind of a really quick random, or not, it'll almost seem random, but it's not, a review of places that we visited, stuff that we've seen, strange pathways. And so with that, this was actually why I wanted to do this, guys, because today it's gonna get way weirder, okay? Because just alone, all right, just in this area alone right here, this is, well, it's actually 2 meridians. Well, technically 3, because I want to start out by saying we got our small intestine over here. We learned last week it rolls down the arm. Very important points there on that back wing, that shoulder blade, especially. This is a little bit of a non sequitur, just because a lot of people have been asking me about psychic attack or how to cleanse the body after attacks of difficult energy or just being in places of very dense or just toxic energy. One of the places we can work with and actually scrub, literally clean on the body, right back here on the shoulder blades. You'll see small intestine 11 right here. And this entire region of the body, this is one of the places that will gather and hold on to dense energy that is sent to you, picked up by you, sometimes inadvertently, environmental energy, things that people, and this is where we get weird sometimes with psychic attack, things that are said behind your back. Literally. Right here. These are gathering points. And what's interesting is the Chinese even knew that when they started mapping the meridians. I know we're going on a long detour here, you guys. Feel free to throw any questions in there, but it's something that I discovered in my own work, because what I've found with clients, especially ones that are having really difficult parasitic energetic attacks, is we would find this weird energy behind the shoulder blades. For those of you guys that have done individual sessions with me, you'll know I literally do an exam and we go behind your shoulder blades. So it's a trip. But what I discovered, just as a real quick detour, some of you guys are going to go, what? Guess what this is actually called? This little spot, spleen 11. Let's just check it out. Celestial gathering. This is an actual gathering point on the body for energy. Now, according to the Chinese system here, it's, internalized energy. But what we're finding in fourth density is there are actual places in which outside energy, toxic energy, things that will be drawn to you, in certain cases said about you, energy that will be sort of aimed at you. In some cases, people don't even know they're doing it. It's just something to be made aware of. Just a brief detour for you guys. And so this is an actual gathering point right here on the backs of the shoulder blades. It's both sides. Just something to be made aware of. And so, like I was just saying, we saw those first places. We took some tours of some emotional templates in the body, and then boom, all of a sudden on week 3, as you can see here, bam, like, okay, what do we do with this? Right. And you can imagine it's almost like, let's say you're opening the hood of your car, and we're like, all right, let's do some work on this, such and such, system. And you crack open that hood and you're like, oh, whoa. And so it looks like that at first, especially when we become aware of something like the urinary bladder meridian, which we're going to look at in just a little bit more detail later on. Right now, I'm just giving you a visual example of it because when we first see stuff like this, it can be very intimidating, and this is actually the longest pathway in the body. But at the same time, let's turn around over here and look at our friend, the kidneys. Right here, these little lines coming up the front. We got a lot of stuff activated right now, so it's going to be confusing. I'm trying to get that thing to highlight. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's a little bit of a basic program, but as you can see here on each side, we have our kidney meridian. Let's see if I can get it to highlight. It won't work. But anyway, we're going to come back to this character. But as you can see, these two lines that go right down here in the body. And there's a bunch of other stuff here. I know it's very confusing today. He's got all these pathways, lit up, and for those of us that are observant, you're noticing, well, they all cross and they all intersect, and it's like all these weird little nodes and connection points. And what we're going to find out in a few moments is, why does that happen with the kidneys? What role do they actually play? What are they actually doing for us from an energetic perspective? If there's also one place that you really, really learn to harness or work with or clear or purify or activate on the body, I think that people, are going to find that the kidneys are going to transform everything for you. And I'll show you why in a little bit. Right now, we're just looking at kind of vague viewpoints on the body. And please let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me know if there's anything you're wondering about, but we're just look at all the weird places we've been. And so it's important to note, I'm going to show it to you now, and we're also going to come back. We're going to zoom all the way down to this guy's body, and I'm going to flip him around here. We're going to flip him around, and we're going to look at the bottoms of his feet. Because as we're talking here today, as we're going through slides, some of you guys are going to feel compelled to find this point on your body. Right down there. It's called Kidney 1. And technically, I want to be honest, by my experience, hopefully you guys can see my pointer. I find it much more aligned actually over here with the second toe, but I know, maybe there's some acupuncturists here, other people that are going to know the exact point. But for some reason, when I work with this point, I noticed that on the model here, they have it in between the second or the third and fourth toe. I find it over here, like in line with the second toe, but right in the arch of your foot. And some of you guys here are going to want to already kind of reach down there and just start working with it. And you're going to find, I guarantee it, some of you guys are going to find this little point where you stick your finger in there and there's this little there's like a little tender spot. And if you do, that's a good sign because we're going to be working with that spot. And that's a direct connection to a very important chakra. I'm really jumping the gun today, you guys. We're skipping really far ahead, but I just wanted to give you guys a view. It's just kind of like a sort of minor review and also this weird example of how much you have already learned, even if you haven't internalized and you're still like, Matthew, what are these pathways? I don't know. Your body's recording this and you're picking it up. And what is relevant and important for you is being disseminated right now, literally in this moment. So anyway, before I continue on this crazy rant, we're going to go back to these here slides. So, took a brief look at a couple things, a couple little places on the body, strange locations. I'm going to move my little window here so I always block my own text. I know you guys have it stuck up in the right, but I'm constantly moving it around. But anyway, here we are. Stop one for today. Probably one of the most important places on the entire body. This is, watch, I say that for every single one, but in traditional Chinese medicine, you guys, the kidneys are viewed as one of the ignition points, or it's like a primal root of energy that exists in the body. I think there's multiple primal roots, but the kidneys are considered probably the most vital on a certain level, at least in terms of supplying the entire body with what they call primordial chi. But they rule over the functionality of or the condition of our bone marrow, our teeth, our hair, fingernails, sexual organs, our hearing, aging. I mean, so much more than what we're told in Western medicine. And from an emotional perspective, this system also affects or controls feelings of fear along with other systems, but very much, very much related to anxiety, willpower, caution, overcautiousness, drive, like that real get up and go, the punch that you'll get in certain situations that allows you to propel yourself forward. Not always a negative thing, sometimes it's positive. Your memory, yes, short-term memory, absolutely. Who you trust, when, how. Do you trust yourself? Your self-worth, how do you see yourself? Sexual functioning, yes, procreation, all of these things. So much is tied up within the kidneys. They will blow your mind. And so it's also, I would say, one of the most powerful pathways in the body because the kidneys supply a very special form of primal life force energy. For those of you guys that have existing knowledge of Chinese medicine, you'll be aware of the three treasures, Qi, Jing, and Shen. Jing is what sort of makes the body, it builds the body. Qi moves the body, and Shen is the spirit that animates around the body. It's the sort of spirit that permeates within and without of us. And so it is believed that the kidneys supply that Jing, also known as primordial chi. I like the word primordial chi, so you'll notice I say that more, but the kidneys are one of those ignition points and the creation points for that in the body. And so that's why when the kidneys start to fade and when they start to die, people have a really hard time. Everything else in their body starts to also fade. It's a very fascinating, and also for those of us that have suffered kidney disease, it's incredibly debilitating. I had experiences with kidney disease actually in high school as a very young person randomly, and it was horrible. It was horrible. Also very short term, thankfully, but the system also works hand in hand with its partner, the bladder meridian, because there's as we know, we've learned each week, there's a yin and yang partner for each meridian. So the kidneys are a yin pathway and a yin organ, but the bladder meridian and the kidney, they work together to control and moderate. I mean, so many things in the body, so much more than what they talk about in Western medicine. A lot of us already know that, but from an energetic perspective, this is one of the absolutely most useful pathways for alleviating anxiety, trap tension in the body, in certain cases literal like decades worth of anxiety, like weird cycles where people will get anxiety at these really awkward times, like first thing in the morning, or just these random moments where it's like every time I do certain things I always get super anxious. And in many cases they will still be tied to difficult events or traumas, but we find is that even with existing trauma in the body or even without it, the kidneys tend to still hold this weird pressurized charge. And we find that for a lot of us, when we just start treating them and start gaining awareness of them and ultimately venting, because kidneys are kind of one of the pathways that I use for venting, not so much as like a release. You guys have noticed, and you're going to see today, a lot of the meridians that we work with, we have the ability to like pop that energy out. It's like a cork. You can like gush it out or push it or flow it out. I think what I've found with working with the kidney meridian is that it's not necessarily something in which we're going to pop or extract energy, but it's very much a place, and I'll show you where, and you guys in a little bit, where you can use that internalized and externalized exhale, that steam valve kind of maneuver to literally release tension and anxiety. And also at the same time, you're hacking the vagus nerve, which even if, let's say hypothetically, even if you didn't reach the kidneys with that exhale, the vagus nerve is still going to begin to detune and to turn down the intense response in the body. And so, but the kidneys allow us to vent energy in a really fascinating way. And so it's also one of the most direct connections to primal energy, like I just said, but it's very important. I think we need to mention that because of the primordial chi, because of what they also call, I think, prenatal or heavenly chi, which we'll talk about later. It's kind of energy that we come in with. The kidneys, it is believed they will also store this sort of ancestral codes and charges. I'll show you where specifically in a minute, which is fascinating. But for that reason alone, it is also one of the most affected and oppressed pathways in the body. And you will find people, I always say this term so carefully nowadays because so few of them are actually real implants, but the kidney meridian is an actual place where people will receive implantation. And just the word implantation alone is such, oh my god, it can mean so many things. But this is one of the places in which we get oppressed, which we get affected, which we get interfered with, in which we get tapped. Literally, I would say much more so common than implantation is what I call a form of tapping or tagging or extraction, in which openings are sort of like, for those of you guys that are in the medical realm, it's like one of those little IV shunts that they put in people's arms. There's an energetic kind of quality that, or an energetic, excuse me, like a process that can occur of stealing or extracting energy. It's very similar. It's like a little hole that will open up, and you can imagine it's almost like some dimensional being or sometimes people, and it's a very fantastical way in which this is described, but metaphorically it's accurate. And it's very much like something can come along and suck up energy, vital energy, or in certain cases push it in. And it's an interesting and strange kind of way to look at that, but the kidneys are an actual pathway that will facilitate those sorts of energy transfers. And so it's very, very, very interesting place. And so, like I said, when the kidneys go down, so does, pretty much your entire body. Our health like rapidly fades. A lot of us have had family members that we've noticed that, we've just known in our family that have died from kidney diseases, or we've seen other people. And you'll notice, especially when people start going on dialysis and the kidneys stop functioning, there is a tremendous decline. I mean, it's just a thing that happens. And so, um, one of the things you guys can literally start doing today, for those of us that want to begin a process of reverse aging, this is the place where we want to focus on. It's not the only one, but especially when it comes to activating DNA. And once again, I'll show you why in a little bit. Don't worry. But yeah, very, very interesting place. And so the good news is, even though this is one of the most affected systems, it's also one that we have complete control over. And by beginning to learn to develop, cultivate, and just really work with kidneys chi, that Jing essence, the true primal life force. And you guys are going to know what really strong kidney energy looks like, because I know everyone here, we've all, we've seen like maybe some of these old Chinese qigong masters, or maybe even people that don't do qigong, just really healthy, glowing, just vital energy. You guys will see it in the skin, you'll see it in the eyes. People will kind of glisten, they'll have this sort of vital essence. And that's one of the ways that you're going to begin to identify this thing down here known as Wei Qi. And it's not just coming from the kidneys, but it's just another form or another classification of vital life source energy. It's called Wei Qi. It's been widely studied. I have a very limited knowledge of it, but one of the ways that you could describe it, or one of the ways that we could imagine it here today, is a literal energetic barrier of your own energy. It's like a protective layer. One of the places in which our body holds Wei Qi, if you guys want to look it up, it's fascinating. You'll find out a lot of really interesting information, but right around the kidneys, right around the midsection. And so what happens is, people that have this very strong kidney field, is they, on some level, which is always kind of a false sense of security, you'll feel impenetrable. And in certain cases, you will, for a certain amount of time, be able to completely dispel any negativity, any pathogens, difficult energy that's around you. But Wei Qi is also depleted, and it is depleted by negative emotions. It's depleted by the energy of anger. It's depleted by negative kidney energy, which is also disproportionate fear, anxiety. And so Wei Qi will also be depleted very heavily by our emotions. And it's just something to be made aware of, just, something to give, a name or an understanding, for future study. It's a fascinating thing. It's literally why, when you start doing qigong or yoga every day and you really start getting into that practice, people start reverse aging. You will literally stop getting sick. It just won't happen anymore. I mean, in certain cases, you're going to come up against something and it's inevitable. You're going to get it. But this is one of the places on your body that you can start to work with that. And I know for some of us, it's hard to believe. It will literally stop you from getting sick. It will not happen anymore. It's crazy to think that's possible. But there's people living in China right now that are over 200 years old. And that's not a joke. It is a real thing. They are out there doing their thing in their own world. And they will live much longer because they will tap and cultivate and work with these fields of energy around the kidneys. And so, sounds cheesy to say it. I hope I get to be one of those people. I would like to see that manifest. But anyway, we're going to move on. Carrie McCrillo says, can we energetically feel our kidneys through our lower back? All of a sudden, my mind and energy is feeling stuff in that area, and I wasn't sure if it's related. Absolutely, 100% yes. I guarantee it, especially as soon as we start talking about it in these moments, your body, your energy, your mind, your emotions, your senses, something is going to go, whoa, I feel this thing. Okay, and that's literally your own body going, hey, were you talking about, they're like, oh, here? Okay, yeah, we'll show you. Sometimes that happens to me when I'm doing clearings and I'll get like weird itchiness there. It's a very strange thing. And so, yeah, embrace that. Your body's becoming aware of the kidney energy. And so it'll also happen sometimes when you go down to the bottoms of your feet in that kidney one. You guys can see it down there on the screen. My little chat screen's blocking it. I'll move it. But you can see it right down there in the arch of the foot. Probably the most important place on the kidney meridian for you to just be made aware of. Also along the ball of your ankle. You can see it over there, kidney 3, 4, 5, and 6. For some of you guys here, if you can reach down to your ankles, start running your fingertips around the ball of your ankle. Palpate, massage. It's like a circle. Literally circle this area. You can go one way. You can go the other. You'll feel like you want to go back and squeeze the bottom of your foot. That's a good sign if you do. Some of you guys will get itchy as soon as you start itching on this little nub right here on kidney 3, right on the edge of your ankle, right there on the inside, by the way. Especially that one, kidney 3. That's a source point, and you will literally feel a weird itch in you'll want to keep rubbing it in this weird way. Sometimes it's a little higher above the ball of the ankle. Sometimes it'll go around. Just kind of trust yourself, but you're going to start venting and softening up that pathway like we've done each week. We're going to we are going to tone into it a little bit here today before our energy clearing and soften it up. But pardon me while I take a drink of water here. Okay. And so learning to clear the kidneys can, in my opinion, be and I will say I am direct result of that because I suffered with incredible anxiety for years. Took medication for all kinds of stuff. No joke, you guys. But learning to clear the kidneys can be a liberating process for those of us who may feel constantly ungrounded or may be suffering from long-running cycles of anxiety or inappropriate fear and hypervigilance that just doesn't seem to go away. It shows up at these weird, awkward times, and you get scared for no reason. You feel it. Everyone's had it at certain times. Some of us get it all the time. Some of us are like, yeah, no, it's cool. My kidneys are good. So not everyone's going to have that. But for those of us that do, it's debilitating. And so this pathway offers us two of the most direct and palpable avenues for grounding, clearing, venting, and also activating our human energy system. It also links directly with the chakra system by joining with the Earth Star Chakra. Down there at your feet, point kidney 1. That is a direct connection. One of the ways you can imagine it, it's like a little tube or a cord or a thread or just a connection that will go right down underneath your feet. I'd say if you want to quantify a distance, I would say it's, you can imagine anywhere from like a foot to 6 inches underneath your feet. There's a chakra. It's the Earth Star. Sometimes it's closer. Sometimes it's farther. It's a weird thing, but it's a etheric grid connection point. We'll talk more about it later. When it comes to the concept of grounding our energy, this is one of the most primary locations in which this process actually takes place. One of the reasons why this can be a tricky process for many of us often has to do with trapped energy in the kidney meridian. It becomes pressurized like a balloon, and it's tight. It's very tight. And you'll know when that's happening to you because you'll be trying to do something around the house or in your life, and you're like, everything's like, have to, and you start like slamming stuff and you're like, okay. And I do this literally all the time. It's things will get intense and you're like, damn it. And you're like moving things around. Good, really good example. And the kidney energy starts kicking up and we're like, getting all flustered. That's it right there. It's not always kidneys that do that, but it'll give you guys an example. That can also be a liver energy, just so you know. But or your lower back. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. You will also get the lower back feeling. Here's what's crazy, you guys. Lower back is, I would say it's even more related. I mean, depending on the emotion, to the bladder, urinary bladder. I'll show you why later, but absolutely kidneys as well. And so anyway, let's get back into this whole thing here. It's also why a lot of people do grounding meditations. They will do grounding practices. They will try to make a column of light in the body and create this, like this 1220D shield or whatever it is, which is a real thing. But sometimes that doesn't work. And we try to reconnect or center our energy, and it just doesn't work, and we feel okay for a little while, and then after a little while we just kind of go back to feeling crazy, and sometimes it's worse. It gets worse as you do it. And so one of the reasons why that happens to people, and it was also a thing that I discovered in my own life, it was how I had to figure out, oh, there's this thing down there, oh man. That's because if it is not properly released and vented and allowed to drain, it just stays in the body, and we can never truly ground our energy. There's other reasons why, but anyway, to start clearing the kidney meridian and start that pressure relief process, we're going to do that here today. We talked about it earlier. Massage or focus energy down at the bottoms of your feet, kidney one, and just start moving upward. You can trace the meridian. Meridian tracing is a 100% legitimate process of opening up that pathway. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. What I tend to do in my own work is I will find access points and I'll keep working with those access points. And for each person, they can be a little bit different, but the bottoms of the feet, I think, is a really good access point for the kidneys, the ankles. And so you can start to work with that energy, kind of move your hands around there. Some of you guys are going to feel guided to tone. But like I said earlier, I've noticed the kidneys respond very, very well to that deep breath. And as you're palpating or holding that area, you're like, it's that long extended, it's like the, I call it the steam valve. It's like the steam valve that you're creating. And what you're going to find is the first couple of times you do it, when you're palpating the kidneys, you're going to be conscious of the sound and you're going to be like, oh, what is this working? But here's what's going to happen. You're going to do it like 3 or 4 times in a row. And then you're going to find you're going to keep doing it. And you're going to like, and you'll sort of calm yourself as you're doing it automatically. And you're going to keep doing that breathing. And what you're going to find is it's like the steam valve starts to vent. And so what you can do as you're doing that process and continuing that breathing thing, that steam valve release, palpate that energy, move it up the torso, move your fingers up that area. I'm going to move my little chat window, and it's not highlighted on the chart here, but I would like to just show you guys, there's a couple areas where I focus this energy. It's not necessarily, they're not really focused here. Oops, I just moved my camera into an awkward position. Give me a moment here, guys. There it goes. So places that I will like to focus on with the kidney, obviously down here. We will, in nearly every case when I start working with somebody's kidneys, we will go right down here to the bottom. We'll work our way over here and, kind of astrally or in my own mind, or, I will literally just be taking my fingers and moving them around that area right there, kidney 3, 4, and 5. You're going to find that using these symbolic gestures in your own world, whether you're working on yourself or whether you're just doing it with clients or whether you're just starting to experiment, you are going to find that just the act of going through what for a lot of us were taught was this imaginary thing, right? Oh, it's just you're not actually doing it. You're moving your hand around. We have been so taught and conditioned that does nothing, that for many of us, we will start doing it and we're like, moving energy around the ball of someone's ankle right here. And your internal filters are going to kick in and tell you that's not working. As you continue to practice that, it will become so powerful to the extent that people will feel it before you even do it. And I mean that with 100% sincerity. So please embrace your urge that wants you to start, I'm moving energy. Yes, you are 100%. And so one of the places we do that is right down there on the ankle, but also up here. You're going to notice right above the genitals, right around here, underneath the belly button. I'm going to show you why this is such a key area on the body. All these points are lit up right here. You guys are going to trip out when you see what is stored along this pathway. There's a lot of stuff. It's incredibly useful, but this is a good place to palpate the kidney meridian, to also tap the kidney meridian. But some of us, every now and then, you're going to get this urge to literally start hitting your body. Sometimes you'll hook your fingers like this, and this is one of the places in which you can viscerally manipulate energy. And I just think it's important to mention here, you guys, because there's a million ways in which we can access the meridians, and it's not always about knowing these points. We're not reinventing Chinese medicine. We're just creating a different method of accessing it. And so one of the ways in which we are going to vent and open up the kidney meridian here today is very much not even on the kidney meridian, guys. We're going to talk more about it in a minute, but it's called the Ming. It's part of the governing vessel meridian, and it's right there in the center of your back. And while we're here today, before we start softening up the kidney meridian for our clearing, I'd like you guys to reach around to that spot. Some of you guys are going to have no idea where it is, and that is okay. It'll be the first time you've ever heard of it. I just want you to imagine it and give it a shot. But reach right around there to your back. It's going to be right on the center of the spine. Don't worry, I'll show you more in a minute. But I want you to just reach back there and just move your hands around. Some of you guys are going to get an urge to kind of pump with your fingers. And if you feel that, that's a good sign. Some of you guys are going to want to circle or just create this palpating motion. It'll show itself to you in this very interesting way. And so don't worry if you're getting it wrong or right, but that's one of the things I'd like you to do before we soften up this kidney meridian here today. And so just continue that for a moment. And then finally, bring your attention up here to the collarbones, kidney 27. This is our venting and release point for the kidneys. And it is, oh, thank you, Carrie. Good. That is absolutely it. Absolutely. You're finding those spots. Your energy will rise up and show you where it is. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go right up here to the collarbone, you guys. I know my camera is very small, but you're going to notice right at the top of your collarbone, you got those little notches. Those little notches right there, right on the outside of those notches and underneath. You can start tapping. This is why EFT tapping works so well for people with anxiety and with really intense energy, because what you're going to be doing is venting the kidneys. And so before we do this officially, we're going to pause. And one more time, reach on down to the bottoms of your feet. Reach on down to the arches of that foot. If you can. Don't worry if you're in a weird position and you can't. It's okay. We're just softening up this meridian. What I'd like you guys to do is kind of pump it. Hopefully you can see my thumb and my finger. I know I'm doing weird movements, but you're going to reach up underneath your foot and that little arch, and you're going to kind of push it around and pump that spot, kind of work with it. Step 2, reach up to the ankle. Once again, you're almost there, guys. We're going to create a really interesting vibration. Some of you guys are going to get a little sweaty in a moment. Good job. Go to that ankle. Very good. Let's move right up to the torso. Move up to the torso, right underneath your belly button, and just take your fingertips and just go up to the top, go down, bring it up there once again. Here's a third one. Bring it up. Hold your fingers right at the tops of kidney 27. I know we're going real fast. You guys are going to see how this works. Hold your fingers there, palpate around, feel that collarbone. You're localizing the area. Now, everyone, keep your fingers there. Pause. Close your eyes. Let all your breath out. Let's take a deep breath in as a group. And as we exhale, we're not toning. We're as long as you can. Here we go, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Hold it. And release. Snap it and release it. Take your hands, everyone. Put them around the back. Hold those kidneys. And just hold. Connect with that energy. When you feel guided, take a deep breath in and you can pull it out. You can release it. You can drop it. Whatever you need to do. There are many, many ways to access the kidney meridian and the kidneys themselves. This is a general outline when we're starting to clear it. And you can also tell that, I immediately diverted from the pathway here instantly. This is one of those places where really, as long as we are able to gain awareness and understanding of the emotional value of this pathway, we have incredibly powerful points at the top and the bottom that will allow us to, you can also choose to tone, but very, very responsive to the release of pressure in the body. And one of the things, one of the places that can help you do that is that Ming right down there. But good job, you guys. That was a very fast and rapid softening and pressure relief process of just letting that energy go. Good job. Let me know if you guys felt that. It was a little quick. So good job. Good job. Oh, Emerald, cool. Wow. Thank you, Emerald. Some people will get a little sweaty when we do that. What I've noticed is that people's feet kind of tend to get the feet will get warm or the feet will get cold, one or the other. Every now and then, we get itches in our back, like your back will get itchy. You'll feel like your skin gets, somebody will, Carrie McCrill said she started itch earlier. Yeah, that's a sign. Literally, the energy will start to flow. And it's a very, very interesting thing. And so I know we've been going on and on. Thanks, you guys. Let me know if you have any other questions as well. But there's no way, in my opinion, we can't really talk about the kidney meridian and not talk about the Chong Mai. And even as we talk about this, I want to tell you, I don't really understand this meridian. I don't know if anyone really understands it. It's a fascinating thing to start to read about. You guys can look at all kinds of, there are tons of all sorts of articles and peer reviewed, just information about studies that have gone into, understanding this pathway. And it's truly fascinating. But what I have begun to, thanks for your comments there, you guys. Very good. Ann Baldwin says, I can breathe better. That is a beautiful sign. Here's what's wild, Ann Baldwin. If you can look at the image right here, you will actually be seeing why you can breathe better after moving energy along the kidney meridian. Even though we're looking at that Chong Mai right there, you can see those little pathways that literally go right up into your lungs. And what's interesting about it, if you just look at it, you guys can see it's made up of mostly the kidney meridian. But let's talk about it. Let me move my little window once again here. The Chong Mai, aka penetrating vessel, aka central thrusting vessel. I kind of like central thrusting vessel as a word. It's you guys will hear it, referred to many different ways, but it's one of the most mysterious, powerful, and yes, least understood of all the extraordinary, or what some call strange flow meridians. The Chong Mai is thought to contain the architectural blueprint of prenatal, genetic, and ancestral influences that are inherent with the human body upon arrival here in the earthly realm, meaning that this is like a storage house of genetic, primordial, etheric, multidimensional data that will exist in a channel in your body, which is it's like a great, right? We're like, whoa, really? And yet it is. And I want to tell you, this is where I'm actually going to show you guys a method of kind of opening this up here today. It's kind of an aside. Hopefully my camera position allows me to do it. But while its primary structure is mostly made up of points along the kidney meridian, it is said that the Chong Mai has the ability to go everywhere and do anything within the layers of the energy body, and in some cases has been regarded as a formless channel of energy connecting and affecting all other channels within the body and outside of it. Pretty nebulous and mysterious, right? We're like, whoa, it is both within and without, right? It already has kind of like a weird mystique, within like two sentences, right? But because it appears so closely linked with the transformation of kidney jing, that primordial chi that is, sourced within the kidneys, the Chong Mai is of special importance to those consciously following what we call this path of ascension, or those who may be on the path to becoming healers. Also, it's not listed here, but also, people who are trying to understand or release layers of genetic coding and past life data that will have direct impact on what we're called to do or become or activate in this life. Imagine if there was one channel on the body that was that was holding all sorts of that multidimensional data that you could literally activate and move and begin to work with in your body. And imagine if upon activating and moving that energy, whole chapters of your life would start to change, elements of self-knowledge, and even the ability to literally project energy through the pericardium channel out of the body. Imagine if there is one channel. Well, there is. This is pretty much it. Yet, how we access it, how we use it, the level to which we're capable of integrating that energy, it's different for each of us. Yes, it does all of those things, but actualizing the potential of the Chong Mai or the data that is contained within there, and this is just my opinion, I think for a lot of us, it will take a lifetime. It's like a lifetime worth of data, or I would say many lifetimes worth of that. So part of this reason is due to the activation of additional layers of knowledge from past lives, future lives, concurrently running alternate lives, which is a crazy thing to unpack, you guys. It's almost like an antenna that upon activation allows us to tune into those. And I know it looks pretty crazy, but one of the ways you guys could understand it, if you look down here to conception vessel 1, right down there in the perineum, right down there in the bottom, one of the ways you could also describe the Chong Mai is like a twisting corkscrew of energy that goes all the way up the body, right up to the crown and out. It moves all the way out, which is why I believe, they say it's within and also with outside of the body. Heather Cox says, like Kundalini. Yes, I believe this is one of the channels that will be using the mobilized Kundalini energy to facilitate the transfer of ancestral knowledge and data in the body. I wouldn't say that the Chong Mai itself is Kundalini energy, but it will be traveling along and through a very similar pathway of energy in the body, just kind of like it's carrying different stuff. It's like a similar current of the same thing, but it's got a little bit of a different, it's almost like it's got a different channel in it as well. It's just different ingredients, but yeah, kind of the same thing. It's one of the ways you could you could look at it, and also just kind of based on the basicness of the text here, it's that, and it's also not, it's like this crazy nebulous channel of energy in the body. Very, very interesting, right? But Chiang Mai contains a tremendous amount of data that I think we are going to be using here in this lifetime. And I haven't heard anyone really talking about it. Maybe there's a million people doing energy work all over the world, but I haven't seen a single person talk about this pathway. Maybe everyone's working with it in their own way. One of the things I've noticed for people that will do meditations in which they're creating the column of light, which is a very, very common one. It's also part of the process of Lisa Renee calls the 12D shielding process. In my opinion, any of the gestural sort of shielding maneuvers in which we are, creating, enhancing, or cultivating a column of, conscious light up through the center line of the body, also known as the Hara line. I think this is also one of the channels that we are directly working with. And so when we start using this, our life changes, our body changes, the kidneys begin to kind of work with a different frequency, an expanded frequency. In certain cases, I believe that there are individuals on the earth plane that will go through deep traumas or really difficult fracturing in early childhood. And the Chong Mai is one of the energetic vessels that, if distorted or damaged, can be used to cause people to be stuck in like really negative ego distortions and very parasitic behaviors. I believe it could also be kind of diverted. But it is said, as we get back to the content here, because you guys know I'll go on a crazy long rant about stuff, but it's said that when learning to clear the Chong Mai, any point along this pathway will do. However, we found, or rather I found through direct practice, that this meridian responds very effectively to stimulation of the kidney meridian and breathwork, especially, in remarkable ways. And it's funny because Heather Cox was like, is this like Kundalini? And this is one of the places in which we see that, yes, it does. The movement of the pathway will be moved along with breathwork and the Kundalini that rises in the body with respiration. And so it's just something to really be made aware of. It's not something that everyone's going to be able to tap in instantly. I'm not coming to you like, yeah, guys, just open the Chong Mai and you know what I mean? It's not necessarily one of those pathways in which there's like a finality about it. It's not like one of those things where, yeah, man, I opened my third eye and now, you know, I have all the ancestral data. It's definitely not one of those things, but it's an unpacking process. And it's something that with, you know, with thoughtful treating and thoughtful awareness of the energy contained within this pathway will allow us to integrate it and use it and tap into it in what for a lot of us is an evolutionary way. And what I mean evolutionary is that it's not like we just, oh, it's on, ding, here we are. You know, it's something that begins a process of evolutionary change. And the process of evolutionary change, you know, it can take place in months or weeks. A lot of times it's a chapter of our life that will begin. Marie Suzanne Wasilik said, can you get to the Akashic records? I don't know, maybe. That's a good question. I think that because of its ancestral data and the genetic frequencies contained within, it will be linked to Akashic data, but that's a very good question. And so while our mission today is more to gain awareness of the structure rather than clearing it, because I think by clearing the kidneys, you start to make more deliberate use of whatever's available for us within this pathway. I think it's also something that will activate in time as long as we're able to keep the energy clear and are aware of its existence. And so so you can start down there at the points listed, but I'm actually I think I have enough room to do it for once. I actually have a camera angle that allows me to do it. I'm actually going to stand up and show you guys just a really simple way that you can begin to activate and pull this energy upward in your body. And you can see some of the instructions here. It is helpful for those that haven't worked with this energy. You can start to kind of tense the perineum muscles. For some of us, for ladies, it'll be like kind of like Kegel exercises. If you do that, for men, if you're here, it's like you're kind of pulsing the muscle that we, you know, use when you're like urinating. You know, it's that muscle underneath you. There's a specific name for it. I can't remember it right now, but everyone here knows it in their own way. If you can start pulsating that muscle, it's like you're going to hold it and then release, and then hold it and then release. And you can continue to do that, but regardless of whatever points you work with in the Chong Mai, I think it's one of the pathways that will respond directly to Qigong and thoughtful movement. So I'm going to kind of stand back. You're going to lose my mic for a moment, but it'll be really quiet. But I'm going to show you guys just kind of how you can start to pull this energy upward. I'm going to move this back, and you're just going to see my torso. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to put your hands down here, kind of where the groin is, along where, you know, like those hips start, right down here. Hopefully you guys can still hear me, but you're going to put your hands down here at the groin, right at the crook of your hips, and you're going to hold that energy. And as you breathe in, you're going to, and as you pull it upward, you're going to go up out of the body. And it's very awkward the way I'm showing it to you right now. I'm going to put on the large camera really quick. I'm going to close the share screen just really quickly, and I'm going to show it to you. It's going to be awkward and weird, but you guys are going to get just a little bit of an example. Here we go. Hopefully that comes back. There we go. I'm going to put myself on the main screen. I know this is the first time we're ever doing this in a class. A lot of you guys have been in so many of our classes, and I'm always like, someday I'm going to show you a little bit of this. We're starting that process. Okay, guys, we're getting it. And so if you can see it there, what we're doing, I'm going to reach down here. It's like right at your groin. And for a lot of us, this is the genital region. I know it's awkward. So you're going to put your hands down here. You can kind of tap, and then you're going to take a breath in, and you're going to pull the energy upward. And I know it's awkward the way we're doing this, but you're going to go boom, up over your head. You're going to stretch all the way. It's like your hands are going all the way out. I know it's so weird on the screen, you guys. Thanks for doing it with me. It's the first time we get to do this in the class. And the cool thing is in the future, I'm going to have it set up so we can stand up. But for now, you can just try it in your own way. But really what I think the key is for those of us that are doing it is to tap into the energy right in the perineum. It's right down there in your bottom. And if you don't know where that is, guys, they call it the taint. You know, it's right down there. It ain't the front, it ain't the back. And so we know where that is. And you're going to tighten that energy. And you're going to pulse it. You're going to kind of squeeze it, and you're going to get some feelings in your body. Everybody kind of gets it in their own way, but I'm just going to do it one more time in our weird, awkward way on the camera. Okay. So you're going to take your hands down there. You can even tap for a while. Some of you guys will literally begin to tap. You'll start to just like work with this area right on the inner thigh, right where it joins. And this is where a lot of lymph nodes are. And so you'll kind of tap there and then grab it. It's like you're grabbing the energy. You're going to pull it, and you're going to, as you breathe in, you go up and whoa over your head. And yeah, I'm kind of leaning down and squatting as I'm doing it. You're going to be standing in your own way. And cool. Thanks for trying that with me, you guys. For those of you guys that start to kind of cultivate that and work with it in your own way, it's going to help you pull that energy upward. And one of the things we're learning is that these gestures of movement, these things that we're doing, excuse me, actually create change. So I'm going to go back to my share screen. Thanks for doing that, guys. I know we're going on and on today, but yeah, in the future, we're going to have some more videos where we actually show the real way to do that. I'll be standing in the back, but Chong Mai, be aware of it, you guys. This thing is going to have incredible impact on your healing and your activation. Oh, thank you, Carrie. Thanks for trying that, you guys. Especially down there in that, you know, right down there in the groin, there's a lot of energy there that will, once we start using that and pulling it upward. Oh, thank you. The wind just, oh, Brad. I know I have a lot of breath moved for me as well as I was showing that to you guys. I'm like, oh, okay, it's definitely working. All right. Even when we do the sort of random awkward version here. And so thanks, guys. Good job. I love it. The wind outside. Perfect. Anyway. Cindy says, that's one of the Qigong moves I've been doing. Absolutely. Totally. It's going to start opening up that Chong Mai, getting some ancestral data in your body. Very, very fascinating. Anyway, sorry, guys. We're going on and on today. We are going to take a break, I think, actually, after this slide. But here's what if you guys want, you could tell me if you need a break. Please do, because y'all know I'm going to keep going on and on. And we got a lot of stuff we're doing today. So I think we're probably going to take a break after this one. But please do let me know how you're doing if you guys need a break. And so, pardon me. So along with our friend, the kidneys, we have this crazy guy, the longest meridian in the body. This guy's wild. I mean, it's you can see it right here on the screen, everybody. Look at this. Oop, as I change my own screen, sorry. I mean, just look at this pathway. It is wild. And so we saw it on the Meridian Man a little while ago. It's just, when you highlight both sides of it, it's like this incredible lattice and network of all kinds of stuff going on. But anyway, the Bladder Meridian is a truly complex realm of experience, emotion, energy, memories, all sorts of frequencies that we encounter here on Earth. It's the longest meridian in the body with 67 points in total. The Bladder Meridian reaches from the tip of our head. You can see it right there, all the way down to the tips of your toes. It literally runs the entire length of your body. It also rules the back. It rules so much in the back of the body. It's a trip. This is the yang element of a very strange partnership with its friend, the kidneys. Very interesting duo. And as you can see here, it can be said the bladder meridian. It's literally controlling the entire back. In fact, I'm just going to skip ahead like 20 chapters ahead. You can access every organ with the bladder meridian, in some cases faster and more directly than actually working with the meridian that pertains to that organ. I mean, you can literally go right into specific organ spots along the bladder meridian, right in the back. And you guys can look it up in your own time. They're called shu points. I think they're the bladder meridian shu points, SHU. I'll show them a few of you guys in a minute, or I'll show a few of them to you guys in a minute, but very, very, really, really fascinating place. And so it will literally tap into all of your organs. But when it comes to layers of timed activation taking place here on Earth, the bladder meridian is an area of extreme activity on a collective level. It's also one of the reasons why you see people in this hyper vigilant, completely guarded, entirely about to fight or hoard weapons, or you could even say hoard toilet paper from a few months back. It's one of the things, or the valves in our body that will be responsible for creating kind of like a hoarding mentality, a gathering, a hypervigilance. It's like, no, I need it. It's like, I need it. I need it. I mean, this urgency. And likewise, it will also be the opposite of that. And then it all dumps out, kind of like when you lose the bladder, it's like everything, we can't hold it. It's a very, very interesting thing. And so it also rules much more than the bladder and the urinary system itself. It plays a part in connecting, like we said, with the energy of all 12 primary meridians and our organs through what I call the control panel of valves and actual multidimensional connection points that exist in the back. And so through this vast network of nodes and circuit points lie the frequencies of old, ancient trauma, deep fear that will exist within the body from multiple lifetimes, all sorts of multidimensional experiences, and nearly most of them have to do with fearful events. Not just fear, but there's a wide swath of experiential stuff that comes with the bladder meridian. But one of the easiest ways to understand it, for better or worse, is through its negative aspect, because each of us will have experiences with these feelings. Some of us feel it literally all day, depending on where you fall on the political spectrum right now. This feeling of, bladder meridian intensity is going to be a way of life for some of us. Which sucks, right? It's like, well, I don't want to feel like this all the time, but it will keep you in this state of urgency, in a constant fight or flight, in which you will constantly be hypervigilant, constantly worried about a fight or an attack or, a threat. I mean, this is the pathway that keeps people locked in that. And I think it's reliable to say that if there was one place on your body that you could begin to work with and alleviate that hypervigilance fight or flight. Because we learned about the kidneys a few minutes ago, and we're like, all right, well, these guys are very anxious. They're also incredibly powerful and punchy, and they create all sorts of wild sensations in the body. But then, they have a release valve, and they have this, this bladder thing, and it will completely shut you down. Or in some cases, when you're holding an overabundance of energy in the bladder meridian, you will become very likely to be the opposite, take incredible risks. You'll totally ignore your gut instinct. In certain cases, we see this with people at a certain stage in our life cycle. Oftentimes, kids in school are a good example, because they'll just, they'll get crazy and they just want to fight. And everyone goes through those weird wavelengths. We've all seen them. And, the bladder meridian, when it acts up or we get this overabundance of energy, you'll see people doing crazy stuff. They'll think they can take on this huge thing, and they're like, they go in there and then, and they get this big smackdown. And it shows up in a multitude of different ways. But when this pathway is either blocked up, too much energy, too little energy, if it's traumatized, if it's been kind of kinked or attached, or whatever the element is, has a lot to do with our emotional reactivity, how we react to emotional stimulus, especially threats. And it's really interesting, because you will see the sort of behavioral echoes of the urinary bladder meridian in people that have hoarding issues, people that gather or hoard weapons. That's an interesting psychological aspect. If you hoard things that make you safe, or the idea that we must amass or accumulate something that creates safety or security, that's one of kind of what we would call the psycho-spiritual aspects of the urinary bladder meridian. But it also has a lot to do with all sorts of other physiological kind of illnesses in the body, which a lot we're not really here to deal with. That's not really what we're here to do. This is more about the energy and the multidimensional properties of it. But what's very important that I think we need to know is that in many cases, actually, our emotional reactivity can be greatly altered or influenced through transmission of frequency-based weaponry. Yes, through things like Wi-Fi. Yes, through that, the sort of mythical, mysterious thing that everyone talks about, the 5G internet, that whole thing. And all of the wavelengths of parasitic, or what we call frequency interference, coming from the TV, coming from your phone, coming from those towers on the side of the freeway that look like, trees. On one level, it's kind of a conspiracy thing, but on another level, what we're finding is that this is one of the pathways in the body, because of its nature, because of its intrinsically liquid nature, being a pathway that, whether or not it's not actually holding, urine, but just the idea that it is, within its liquid nature, it will immediately respond to vibrations from outside of us. And also things that are aimed at us. And so one of the things we notice about urinary bladder meridian is it gets incredibly affected, or rather our emotional states are incredibly affected by this. And people that have a very pressurized pathway, we can be tricked or guided into in really intense states of internal conflict. It's very, very interesting. You guys can look at many different people in media and television and politics, and you're going to begin to identify. I think it's one of the pathways that will be very, once you see the behavior aspects of it, you're going to start to see it everywhere. So it's a very interesting thing. Yes, I'm ranting at you. Thank you. I'm going to move my little window here. Sorry, guys. Oh, there it goes. Thank you, Heather Cox. Are the organ points on both sides of the back? Oh, thank you. That's a really good time to ask that question, actually, because we're going to look at it. I'll show you. And yes, they are on both sides of the back. Here we go. Let's turn this character around and look at our urinary bladder meridian friend here. Now, I want to start out by saying, see this blue line going down the middle here, you guys? That's your governing vessel meridian. I like to leave it highlighted because, as we learned in week 1 and 2, it's one of the primary supply points for energy in the body. It supplies chi and moves energy all throughout the other 12 meridians. It connects to, I think, or it's energy that passes through that, and the conception vessel will connect and supply everything. But let's start up here just really quickly with the bladder, because this is a place that you guys can start to palpate and work with on your body right now. And if you're ever wondering, why do people do this? Why do they pinch the bridge of their nose and like do this? This is an unconscious method, or a thing that people will do. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to highlight that character. That's the governing vessel. But you guys can start grabbing these points right now on your body, and you will start to relieve stress and tension right here, bladder 1 and 2. And it responds, very well to both sides. And so if you can see my little camera, I'll take my glasses off for a moment. But you can start to work your fingers up in there, take both your fingertips and kind of press them right up into the eye socket, into your sinus, and just kind of squeeze right up there. I promise you, people are going to feel tension. You're going to get a little bit of a pain. You're going to be like, wow, there's a little feeling on one side or the other. You're going to be starting to soften and open up that meridian for the clearing we're going to be doing in a little while. But those are really good points to be made aware of. And so we're not going to go through everything on the bladder meridian, you guys, because literally there's 67 points. It's this wild, wild journey. But I'll show you guys a couple other ones in a moment. But we had a question about, do these organs, are these on both sides? Yes, it is. Absolutely. Let's find some of those shoe points here. This is going to be a little awkward because I don't actually know specific points. I'm not a person that actually works with the specific ones at all. I will vent and drain an entire pathway. There we go. We have one of our shoe points right here. And so you're going to find that along this pathway, and we're not going to go through each one, but yes, absolutely. They will correspond within the control panel on the back. Let me get rid of this thing. It's just easier for everybody to see. But within the control panel on the back, you're going to find these specific points that will go directly to certain organs. You may find that they will be within the vicinity of the organ. I think down here we have the triple warmer that will connect to that, which we're going to get to in a couple weeks. But yes, they will be on both sides, and each one of these spots will have to do with a meridian. Well, not all of them. I think there's 6 on each side. But yeah, it's very, very fascinating. And you guys can even tell as I'm talking about it, I don't treat the specific points when it comes to activating or clearing energy. And, once again, that's definitely where our work differs from traditional Chinese medicine and also from acupuncture in a whole, in that I, as a clearing practitioner, will just not place a lot of emphasis on these pathways. It's just a different way of doing things. It's neither better nor worse. But what I have found is that for those of us that are trying to more effectively clear the entire emotional value of a pathway can be done from head to toe. If we seek specificity within certain organs or treating specific maladies within the body, I'd say the back itself of the urinary bladder meridian. Oh, thank you, Heather Cox. There you go. She's putting them all in there. She knows. I appreciate you. Appreciate you adding that. There you go. Those are the shoe points. Thank you. But yeah, they're gonna allow you just the specific ability for those of you guys that choose to really study this pathway. It's going to be one of the number one ways in which you can start to create a direct connection with the organs. But I will say that my use almost entirely as a clearing practitioner that works with this energy almost on a daily basis, I use the urinary bladder meridian as an avenue to release intense fear, hypervigilance, anxiety, in certain cases, even explosive anger from the body. Certain people will have this issue where they will hold all their tension in. And sometimes, our parents did it to us. From those of us that have had this experience, they'll hold all that anger in, and then one little thing will come on and around and bing, and then they will explode. And that's one of the things that can be treated with the urinary bladder meridian, this explosion of fear, explosion of sadness, explosion of whatever it is. And I believe that will be related to organ points, those shoe points that Heather Cox just highlighted for us in the back. And so we can use the urinary bladder meridian to treat the acute or really, in some cases, extreme symptoms that would come from meridians in a little bit of a more direct way, because it allows us to tap into the intensity of the emotion on an immediate level. And so, yeah, thank you. I hope that makes sense. We're gonna go back to our slides. Otherwise, we'll be on that guy all day long. It's just something to see, something to be made aware of. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about this. We're gonna just kind of open up. We're gonna soften this pathway, and then we're gonna take a quick break here, guys. But learning to identify and clear the energy of the urinary bladder meridian within ourselves, especially within myself, learning how to figure out this energy for me, man, it will really open up your ability to find it in the world, to find it in others, to begin to, even find, new ways to release it, because it's so detailed, it's so long, there's so much energy contained within it. But once you become comfortable with how this energy manifests within yourself, you'll begin to see signs of its deficiency, blockage, or excess in people all over the world. For those that are healers, learning to work with this energy as well as the kidneys are going to be one of the things that's going to literally differentiate you. And sometimes when I say this, it comes out, for some people, it'll seem kind of negative, but it's not. But this is one of the things that's going to differentiate you as a shamanic or a true intuitive healer from people that, are very effective, but they will only work within a Reiki frequency, or they will only work within a chakra frequency. They will only stay in these channels in which, have been, initiated or shown or given some element of dogmatic procedure with which to access. I believe if you are able to identify the kidney energy and the urinary bladder meridian energy in yourself and others, and learning to work with that, in my opinion, is what's going to set you apart from everyone else that is doing this work. And I say that from my own experience and also from working with people that I have received healings from that are like, oh, that's the kidneys, that's urinary bladder. And as soon as someone will identify that energy and you start to work with it in yourself, it's like things that you never thought were going to end, they will end. These weird fears, even social fears with the bladder. It's like you'll get this fear around people and you're like, you can't, and you're like, and you get this sort of urgency, right? Everyone will have that at certain times. If you're able to start harnessing and working with that energy, it's like you're going to be able to like kind of come back down and center. And you're going to find also for people that have had a hard time being speakers, you can't do things publicly. Maybe you want to make videos like a lot of us, and you're like, I know I have something to say. I know that I can. I know I can do it. And then they get up there and they're like, you know, and they just can't. There's like, you know what it is, but you can't get it out. Working with the urinary bladder is also going to be one of those things that differentiates you from people who want to and they could, but they won't. They will hesitate. They will be unwilling or unable to, you know, quote unquote, pull the trigger on certain things. By balancing this energy within yourself or just working on it, because it's not a thing, it's not like a finality. Oh, I've balanced the urinary bladder, I'm no longer afraid. It's something that we're constantly interacting with. But when we learn to identify it and work with it and like, okay, this is a feeling, I'm seeing it in my clients, it's going to change your practice. So yeah, sorry, I'm going on a urinary rant here. No pun intended. Anyway, to initiate clearing and drainage of the bladder meridian, we start up here, right up here, the bridge of your nose and the eyes. When I do a clearing with people, you guys, and I'm trying to access this area, a lot of you guys have done this with me. For those of you guys that have done individual clearings right at the end of the session, I like to save it for the end because it is very, very responsive. And what you're going to find is with the points on the back of the urinary bladder, you're going to find this phenomenon will occur in which you guys are doing energy work there. For those of you guys that do body work there as well, also in your own work that you're doing, it's like you can tap or palpate along the back. Even with your energy, you can tone into the back, whatever your method of reaching it is. And what you're going to find is there's these actual points along the bladder in the back where as soon as you hit it, as soon as you tap into that energy, people will have this intense, deep emotional release. I found it by accident and just working with clients. And I found that every time I would go to these certain areas in the back with certain people, it's like you'll just kind of like tap. I know I'm doing it on my face, but I'm just giving you an example. You'll just go along the back, along the kidney meridian, either tap your energy because you might be working through distance, or those that are physical and you can be there. And you're going to find these places on the meridian, on the bladder meridian in the back, where as soon as you hit it, it's like this, and people start to have this crazy intense release of emotion. And it can be kind of scary when you see it in your clients in the beginning, or if you yourself reach that point, because they're going to suddenly, or you are going to start crying and you're going to have this this shakiness starts to come in, and people start to this deep tears start to happen. And this is one of the places on your body where those emotional releases will be facilitated. And so anyway, the reason why I was doing that is I was showing you guys when I do clearings and I'm starting to clear the bladder, I will literally, you know, energetically take my finger and press it right up into the corner of their eye, right up in there, like right up in there. And it can be an awkward thing to do. When you're describing it as an energy worker, it's very, very helpful to do that, because what you're going to find is when you point your energy in there, people are going to feel it. Just like if you were to take your finger and stick it in your eye, you're like, oh, okay, there's something there, right? And so this is where you can start to access that energy. Today, we're going to do a tone in here in a few minutes. I just like you guys to grab the bridge of your nose, just kind of work with it. Feel bladder 1 and 2. Just kind of reach around there. This is very, very easy just to work with that and tone and start to just depressurize the body. But we're going to do a specific one here today before our clearing. I want to show you guys an even more effective way to start releasing mental tension or mental fear in the urinary bladder meridian. Not only will you grab here at the top, but look at this in here. I got to move my little image for a moment so I can see it. But look around at the back, on the back of the head, you guys. This is bladder 10 back here. Thank you to whoever made these animated GIFs, because it actually shows you the flow of the urinary bladder meridian, which I love, but right back here. And so what you can do is grab the front and the back. Don't worry if you don't know where it is. It's at the base of the suboccipital ridge, you guys. It's that little nub at the back of your head. You'll feel a bump at the base of your skull where the neck starts. There's like a little, there's that little divot, that little place back there. You'll feel it. Reach back there, one in the front, one in the back. And some of you guys are going to do this with me right now, which is awesome because you're going to feel your head kind of open. But let's pause for a minute. And the best you can. I know it's weird for some of us. We're like, where is it, Matthew? I don't know. Am I feeling the right place? Yes, you are. Even if you're getting it wrong, your intention is going to help you discover it. But for those of you guys that are with us, we're going to pause, let your breath out. We're going to create a tone, guys. Here we go. Take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. And when you're done, pull that energy out. It's like strings. You get to find your own way, but you're going to pull that energy out. You can snap, you can release it, you can create that little, whatever your method is. But what that's going to start doing is opening up what I call the antenna transmissions, or just these wavelengths of energy that are going to be moving along. Get this, the liquid crystal pathway of this meridian down your back. The reason why some people have a hard time is because there's a lot of tense emotional energy in there. And so after we grab the back of the head, we can move down, and you can see bladder 23, 20 to 35, all the way down there. Let's find them. Right down here in the back of the knee. I didn't label them, unfortunately. I should have, but I didn't. Reach down here. Start to squeeze on the back of your knees. I'm sorry, it's 38, I think, right? Let me move my screen. Thank you. It is. It's 38. You're going to see this little triangle down here. This is a really good area, you guys, when you're trying to open up this energy. Likewise up here, like in the torso, this is another good place. Also, it can be intense to activate here sometimes. Oops. We do have the Ming men right here, which we're going to talk about in a second. But when we're starting to vent this energy from the body down here, this is a good place to begin to palpate. Sorry, I forgot to label these guys. I was going to put numbers there, and I didn't. But this is a really good spot when you're trying to work that energy. This is also one of those places, you guys, underneath the knee, where like when we were working with the stomach. We were working with the stomach meridian, and I was like, right down there on your shin, right on the outside. You're going to reach down there, and you find these places like on the back of your shoulder where it's like you reach in there and you just want to keep itching it and squeezing it and working with it. This is one of the places where you can start to pull the energy downward. The trapped energy that's up here, mental energy, fear, hypervigilance, everything that's connected. And here's what's interesting about urinary bladder. It goes right through your brain, which I'll show you guys in a second. But by palpating and squeezing and working down here, you're going to help release that energy and draw it downward all the way down here to the tip of your pinky toe. And I'm going to be really honest with you guys. You can access this energy on the right or the left. But when I'm working with clients and I'm clearing urinary bladder energy from the body, for some reason, well, actually, I'll tell you why in a moment. I will stay very much on the left side with urinary bladder. The reason for that is because we will find the phenomenon of J seals, which we talked about. You can see it right there on the screen. But right back here, this is one of the placements for standardized energetic blockages, or what some people call genetic implants, which is also a very loaded term. And yet it's actually real, which is what's crazy. But this is one of the places in which energy will hold up that will have a really big effect on your grounding. Because, we talked about how the kidneys, they help us ground. This is one of the places back here. in which this is going to help you pull all of that energy downward. And I know I'm staying on it a long time and just focusing on it, but this is a highly, highly complex pathway in the body. And even though we got all these points, it's just a few places where we really want to work with. And it helps us kind of harness and use the energy of the entire pathway. And so as we move that energy downward, and you can palpate your fingers, you can breathe, you can tone. We're going to open it up really quickly one more time down here at the bottom. And so I want to bring your guys' attention right down here. This is bladder 64. This is a very important point. This is a source point for the bladder meridian itself. And so even if you don't vent or pop energy out of your toe, because that's been a thing we've done a few times here, you guys will be a little bit familiar with it by now. This is also a very important point. It's on the outer edge of your foot, right at the border where things turn pink and white, right on the edge of your foot, right there. This is a good place for you guys to be made aware of. This is also one of those places when you start working with it and you find it, you're going to have the urge to keep touching it and holding it. You'll start to want to massage it. That's going to be helping to draw the energy downward from all the way up here at 1 and 2, all the way down your back, all the way down to the bottom of that little toe, in which we pop it out. And so real quickly, before I show you guys that pathway, we're going to help you get one step closer to feeling it in your own way. Okay, and I'd like you to just, once again, we're going to do this real quick. It's a real quick tone. We're going to deliberately pull that energy down to the tip of our toe. And don't worry, we're going to take a break after this, because I could almost 100% promise you that some of you guys are going to have to go pee. If you don't already, get ready. You're going to have a real life experience of creating that sensation in your body. If you don't have a lot of urine in you, you might not have to. So I'm not saying, guess what, everyone's going to go pee, but this is one of the ways in which you're going to help move that energy through the body. It's also why I do it at the end of clearings. But let's bring your energy down to your feet. For those of you guys that are willing, hopefully you did a little bit of palpating underneath your knees. And we're going to do the left side today because we're going to work with it later. But what I'd like you to do is bring one finger up here to your left eye, like a thumb, put it right up in the corner, right up here at the top. You can do the right eye if you want to, just real softly. And if you're capable, bring your other hand down to your left pinky toe and just squeeze it. I know some of us can't necessarily reach down there, so that's okay. But we're just going to hold this for a moment, you guys. You're going to hold your left pinky toe, and you're going to take your thumb or your finger and just place it right in the inner corner of your left eye. It's going to hurt a little bit in your left eye, you guys. You'll feel a little bit of tension. That's okay. Don't press too hard. Just note it. Keep holding. We're going to be quiet for a moment. Okay, guys, here we go. Take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Good job, guys. For some of you, that was a short tone. So some of you guys will go even longer than me. Good job. Reach right on down to that pinky toe. Wherever you are in the world, it's just your first time trying this. Reach down to that pinky toe and pop it. Just let it release. Your own way, your own method. Some of you guys will cut the energy. Some of you guys will let it out. Find your own way. Notice, I guarantee you, one of your feet feels different than the other. Just notice the difference. Notice the energy on the left foot and the right foot. Notice how that feels. You're starting to use that urinary bladder meridian. Good job, you guys. I know we're doing a lot of stuff today. We've been here a long time. We're doing really good. We're going to do energy clearing in a few minutes here, and I'll just show you a couple more things. But from this point forward, we're going to take a break. We've got a lot of stuff today. So I think we're going to go with the 7.5 minute, 8-minute break. I don't know. Maybe that's too long. Maybe it's too short. Please let me know, you guys. Some of the classes people want longer breaks. Some people want shorter ones. Please just, we're gonna take about 7.5 minute break today. 8's perfect. Thanks, Heather Cox. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at just a couple other things before we move on. We do have our energy clearing coming up very shortly, so don't worry. But for now, please put any questions in the chat, any comments. There's no dumb questions at all. If I skipped anything, if you've been wondering, if you're like, hey, what about so-and-so? Please feel free, throw it in there. I'm going to turn off the camera. We'll put on a little bit of a timer here for 8 minutes, and we shall return, everybody. Here we go. And so as we all start kind of filing on back in here, I'm going to move my little screens around here. And we shall return. And so yeah, there we go. We're good. Just making sure everything's working. And so the Earth Star and the Ming Man, these guys are important to note, especially when we're starting to work with things like the Kidney Meridian, Urinary, Bladder Meridian. And the reason why we're mentioning these is because I think this is also something that not a lot of people are talking about. I'll be honest with you. I have very few anyone that I know right now is doing really dedicated work with the meridians and chakras together at the same time. But I think especially when we start learning about the kidneys, we can't leave behind things like, the Chong Mai, or in this case, the Earth Star Chakra. And so a lot of you guys are going to know about this. If you've been in the Blue Flame Collective group, we did an Earth Star Chakra clearing a couple weeks ago. If you guys are in the chakra class, you already know about this as well. But and I know there's lots of other people that are working with it on the Earth plane. I'm not the only one. I just haven't met that many other people right now. And so, in my opinion, I think this is important information for those of us that want to really, really create a layer of access into the body that is going to have an actual substantial impact. More so than just, I feel very relaxed and good. It's actually going to be creating a multi-dimensional change. And so I think this is one of the places that we need to know about. And so the Earth Star Chakra rules our connection with the non-physical Earth grid beneath our feet. It supplies our energy body with the organic energy from within our earthly realm. So the quality of this energy is dependent on the frequency being emitted from the environment, the planet, and all of the life in this realm. Everything within the organic Earth realm, I guess also inorganic if you want to get technical, but healthy Earth Star energy is critical for those of us who identify as star seeds, wanderers, or those of non-earthly origin due to a possible genetic predisposition to come into the body with certain chakras or other non-physical anatomy disconnected or suppressed at birth. This is one of the avenues on the body that will just be inherently disconnected. They're like cords. It's like you buy this product and you take it home and open it up and you try to turn it on and you're like, what? It's plugged in. It's like not even on. And there'll just be these other cords over there. Like you can imagine, it's almost like the cord to the power supply in your computer, even though it's operational, this one little area and like everything's disconnected. And so it's not that everything would be disconnected and there would be no power with the Earth Star Chakra. What there would be, though, is a very great difficulty connecting with the physical realm. Great difficulty grounding your energy. Some of us, especially those of us here that, identify as star seeds, I mean, this is one of the places in which, a lot of us will feel like we're on the wrong planet. It's like, I'm not even from here. I'm not part of this realm or this family or, sometimes this relationship or, whatever it is. This is one of the places that when it's disconnected, we will feel disconnected from everything. And as a result, people begin wasting. They begin to, have rapid aging, which is one of the hallmarks of when the kidneys begin to weaken. I know everyone here has seen some of their friends, their family members, and you don't see them for a couple years, and then they come back and, they look like they've aged 10 years. And you'll notice the hair gets thin and the fingernails get a little soft and weak, and people will shrink just a little bit. They start getting a little smaller, and the body starts to go like this. And on a number of levels, the kidney jing begins to deplete in the body, and we start to have this expanded or rapid aging process that takes place when we begin to reconnect and thoughtfully work with things like the Earth Star. We start to feed the body with that organic new earth energy, because this is one of the chakras that changes as we go through the ascension process. It starts to transmit. very, very heavily. And so it's just a thing to be made aware of. We're not going to linger on it too long. As well as the Ming Men, which we talked about earlier. We just have a little bit here on it. It's very, very important. And there's a tremendous amount of documentation, a number of, modalities will work with the Ming Men as a point. What it is, this is governing vessel point 4, right up there in the center of your back. It's actually just underneath your kidneys, right in the middle. But this is very much an acceleration point. It's like a dial or a knob or this element of your energy that you can start to work with. You can start to push energy upward. You can kind of light up or draw energy from the kidneys, sort of like a pump. And it's a very, very important point to be made aware of, just in general. But yeah, so in cases of energy depletion, lack of fire or spark, loss of sexual energy, sensation of draining vitality, you can hold, massage, or even manually pump this location in the back with your fingers or tone into the spot to create a spark, much like starting a campfire and blowing on the coals. And also, as you can see there, it can also create, in certain cases, pressurization. It's not always the most appropriate thing to begin working with or sort of pulsating this area on the body. But for those of you guys that are able to locate it and work with it, it's going to be one of the things that just by focusing your energy there, because it's also a chakra. Sorry, there was some commotion going on outside my house there. I don't know if you guys could hear that. It got a little bit drawn out, but yeah, this spot is also a chakra on the body, and so yeah, you guys should check it out. The pranic healing modality places a very, very important focus on the energy of the Ming Men as an accelerator valve in the body, and something that can be used to really move energy upward. And so we're gonna move on from that. Let me know if you guys have any questions about that. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted there, but so those are good places to be made aware of. And if everyone's ready, because I know we've been here for a while today, we've sort of softened up some pathways in the body. We've started to vent some tense energy within ourselves. We started to learn about, just some places and some key locations, behind our knee or at the bridge of the nose or in the corner of the eye or down at that pinky toe. Today's energy clearing, we're going to be working with the frequencies of deeply rooted fear, anxiety, and urgency that exists within the body, often causing us to fight, flee, freeze, or collapse in indecision at various points in our life. And for those of us that have had trauma in the body, in which we had something happen in early childhood or even in adulthood where you had to freeze and you didn't have control and you were locked. That's also a function of the urinary bladder. So we're going to be working with some of those cases here today. And you guys can probably tell I'm kind of normalizing after that. That was really weird. Somebody was like banging on our door forever. Very strange. Anyway, in many cases, this energy is not our own. Or in cases of extreme trauma, it can be used to keep our bodies in a constant state of intensity and negative influence. And so we're going to begin our clearing here today by depressurizing the energy body. We do this every week. I'm going to come in with the mantra that we've been using. That's the Mula mantra. And I'd like you guys to follow me in Ogam Satyam Om. We do that 3 times in a row. And we do that in every single clearing because it allows us to begin working with the energy centers and really creates that softness and that channel opening in the body. And so from there, we're going to move right on down to the bridge of the nose right here, as you can see. And if you feel guided, you can also bring your fingers around to the back of the head as well. And we're going to be venting that with a very important capsule phrase. And this is one of the weeks, if you choose to do this with me, it's going to work even better. But some of you guys can receive on this tone if you choose. It's also something that we used in the live stream that we did yesterday, but it's a capsule phrase. I'm going to show it to you real quick. How does this go? How does it work? It goes, ah, va, me, om. So there's a wind up. And when we do that, we're going to release the front and the back. And so it's a little bit more involved than when I actually do the clearing. And the reason why we're taking extra care and being more specific with these points is to give you guys more of a tangible experience and example of what it feels like to work specifically with these frequencies. So that's a very important point in the beginning. Ah, va, me, om. And so you guys can try that in your own way when we get there. Follow me or receive. And so our next stop after that, so everyone knows where we're going, once again, right at your collarbone, right down here, kidney 27. You can just tap there. You can just bring your fingers there. But from there, we're going to start venting the kidneys with a good, rich tone. You're going to use your own frequency here. From there, we're going to move on down, and we'll just place our hands on those kidneys. Once again, what we're doing is we're going to be warming the body. We're just going through it now. And after that, we're going to focus right down there in the perineum. We're going to use another capsule phrase for the Chong Mai. It's Ya Vu Re. It's a very deliberate frequency that for some of us is going to get a little bit sweaty, a little bit warm. Starts the corkscrew movement upward in the body. It's also for some of us going to create some Kundalini movement. So we allow any emotions and sensations that arise. And from there, we're going to move all the way down to the bottoms of the feet. And you guys can see why I'm going through each and every step here today ahead of time, because we're using more capsule phrases and specific connections with energetic channels in the body that in many cases can be greatly expanded by using these phrases. And so when we get down to the bottom of our feet down there, we're going to use the next one, and that's Maruva. And so you guys will know it when we get there. From there, we go to our final destination, all the way down at the toes, right down there, bladder 67, in which we're going to tone 3 times. And the reason why we're going to do it 3 times is to once again really give us a thorough cleansing and an opening of this pathway, and then we'll simply pop it out. And so I've already talked us through the entire process, and so we're going to go ahead and begin. I know we've been here a while. This is what we came for, so let's sink in. Let your body settle. I'm going to turn off my sound processor here. So my sound's going to get a little more raw. There we go. So allow yourself to settle in wherever you are in this world. Just close your eyes. Let go of your waist. Let go of your belly. Let go of your shoulders. There you go. Bring your awareness back into that internal realm. And the energy that you're feeling, the emotions, the expectations, the thought forms within the body. We'll start out today with just a gentle breathing process and a conscious connection with the childhood self. Once again, that version of us still existing within that realm of pure imagination, pure magic. Like a cartoon movie in your body. And as I count from 3 to 1, we'll take that deep breath in, and as you exhale, imagine your breath exhaling, leaving your body and connecting with the breath of every member of this multidimensional soul group, wherever they are in the world, weaving together that breath into an orb of light. An impenetrable 4th density space of pure creation and healing, pure consciousness. And so as we begin today, let's take that deep breath in, and 3, 2, 1. Hold it. And release. Let that go all the way down. Good job, everybody. We'll do one more of those as we exhale. Allow that breath to connect with the energy of the moment and this soul group. Watch it winding upward. Some of you will notice the corkscrew begin immediately. Deep breath in. Hold it. And release. Please allow yourself to receive as we initiate the crown chakra decompression. Om Shrim Savashwaraya Namaha. Om Shrim Param Jyotishe Namaha. Om Shrim Param Brahmaya Namaha. Om Shrim Param Karunyaya Namaha. Om Shrim Param Pavitraya Namaha. Ogam Satyam Ogam Satyam Ogam Satyam And with this next breath, we honor each and every one of you gathered together here today on behalf of the members of this multidimensional soul group. Guides, guardians, ancestors, family members, galactic family, all those of you guiding the members of this group. We honor you as we bring our attention and our focus right on down to the eyes and the bridge of the nose at bladder 1 and 2, right in the center. And for those that choose, we bring our energy or our fingers or our awareness to the back of the head at bladder 10. Allow your energy to center. Allow your focus to remain at the head. Please join me in Ava Me Om. Let all your breath leave. Deep breath in. Ava Me We're going to do that one more time, everyone. Very effective. Let all your breath leave. Deep breath in. Ava Me Release that energy. Honor your ability emotion and the thought forms in your body. Honor the channels and the new frequencies awakening within you, however small and distant or strong and fierce. We bring our awareness to the collarbone, to kidney 27, the very top of your chest for those that choose, and for those guides present here today. We bring our fingertips to that space and our focus. Please follow me in vibrating the chest. Let that breath out. Deep breath in. Job. Bring your hands downward. Connect with the kidneys in your back in your own way. Nourish the kidneys. Feel into the body. Allow yourself to connect with this organ, even if you don't know where it is or how. Simply allow your awareness, the emotion, the thought forms. Notice what arises inside you as we simply breathe. Take a deep breath in. Job, everyone. Release that energy in your own way. Snap it, breathe it, release it. Acknowledge your emotions. Acknowledge the sensations in your body. Acknowledge the awareness. And with that next breath, bring your energy, your focus down into the perineum in the bottom, that small point down in the center. As we connect with the ancestral frequencies of the Chong Mai. Very good. Allow yourself to feel that pulsation or that heartbeat underneath you. Allow yourself to connect to your energy in your own way. Some of you will feel a rotation in your body. Some of you will feel a subtle rocking within you. Allow your emotions, allow your desires, allow yourself to connect with that multidimensional ancestral data within the body. Please follow me with Yavure. Deep breath in. Good job. Allow that energy to move up your spine. Allow that childhood self to cascade or flow that energy out of the top of your head like a geyser or a fountain or a volcano or a dolphin or a whale. You're entering a new phase of your development here on Earth, and now we ground and reconnect that energy. We make it ours for eternity. We bring our awareness and focus to the bottoms of your feet. At kidney 1, right down at the bottom. I'll send a pulse there for you as well in 3, 2, 1. Very good, everyone. It's going to be a little bit like we're pulling your feet down, reconnecting you with that organic earth grid in the body. Please follow me in Maruva. Let that breath leave. Very good, everyone. One unit, one organism, one energy. Deep breath in. Very good, everyone. Little click at the bottoms of your feet as we release that energy. 3, 2, 1. Very good. As we prepare to shift templates into urinary bladder, we bring our attention and focus back up to bladder 1 at the eyes and the bridge of your nose. Very good. It's a small current or a string that goes directly up to the top. And for those that are here, please connect with the bladder 67 at the tip of the left toe. All those guides, guardians, ancestors, and family members with us today, we honor each and every one of you in healing and releasing, activating this pathway, allowing ancient fear, crystallized trauma for ourselves, past generations, and all generations to come. Let all your breath leave. Deep breath in. Deep breath in. Last one, deep breath in. Connect your awareness with your eyes and the pinky toe at your left foot. Let's release that energy. It's like liquid from a car drizzling out. It's like fluid or oil or dead emotion from the body leaking from a gutter or a pipe or an old drainage spot within the layers of the multidimensional energy body. You're almost there. Release that toe in 3, 2, 1. Oh, good job, everyone. Good job. I'm going to shake your foot for you on the inside. It's an inside tremor. 3, 2, 1. Good job. Very good, everyone. I know that's very new for some of us here today. Allow your breath and your energy to settle. Allow your awareness. Notice the difference in your body. Notice the silence in your mind. The very last thing we'll do here today is, for the first time in this journey, we bring our awareness directly above the head. Look above you. Right above us at this moment stand our guides, guardians, ancestors, family members, all those guiding and assisting the members of this multidimensional soul group. We honor each and every one of you gathered together here today in their journey, in their activation, in their missions, especially in this time of great upheaval on the earth plane. We honor each and every one of you working with us and assisting with the liberation of this planet and the full realization of our missions here as humans in this strange realm. We honor, we thank you. In the name of the one infinite creator, so it is, so it is, so it is. You guys can just release that when you're ready. Good job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Way to go, guys. Let yourself come back at your own pace. We're going all over the body, and we like to leave that urinary bladder for the last because it really, really opens up that emotional valve. And so thank you. We have a question immediately. Thank you, Joyce Burgess. Explain once again the purpose and benefit of releasing these energies that we are releasing. Well, first off, by releasing the emotional energy of the urinary bladder and the kidney meridian, number one, we allow ourselves to let go of anxiety, of fear, and the level to which we can be influenced by that fear, the way it influences our decision making, our outlook, our thought processes, the way we understand right or wrong, the way we use our intuition, the way we process urgency, and really go about conducting ourselves in the world with respect to intensity, anxiety, fight or flight, fear. So the benefit of releasing kidney energy is not only does it help us with releasing the emotional frequencies in our body, but it also helps us reset the organs themselves, because what we find is that each and every physical malady in the body will begin with an emotional issue. Nearly every single time there will be emotional charge or emotional currency, or in certain cases, even in the case of an actual pathogen outside of an emotional frequency, our emotional state alone will be one of the things that can either exacerbate or entirely defeat whatever that is that's going on in the body. So by clearing these energies, we give ourselves not only an advantage in terms of improving our physical health, but also in improving our mental and emotional health. And at the same time, the reason why this course is called Intuitive Activation is because upon releasing and gaining awareness of these invisible pathways in the body, and clearing that energy, we literally become more psychic. It's what happens. You awaken channels of intuition and abilities that will lie dormant within the non-physical body. And so there are a number of benefits. In many cases, you will add years onto your life. You will end long-running autoimmune disorders, inflammation in the body. In certain cases, people will literally lose 40, 50 pounds and have an utter transformation. The reason why we open up these channels is because it is also completely forgotten and overlooked by Western medicine. And one of the things that's happening in fourth density is that we are entering that phase of timelessness, and there's a completely separate template in the body that corresponds with spiritual energy. non-physical currents and pathways, that it's like the missing pieces to everything else we've been working with in the physical realm. And so the energy gets stuck because we get traumatized as humans, because we go through emotional hardships, because we come in with ancestral data and all sorts of mental energies, because we get programmed by our parents and our world as children, because we get abused, because we go through all sorts of catalyzing experiences, not all of them negative. But what happens is along the period of that, or along the process of that journey, we start picking up all kinds of things, some positive, some negative. Some channels become overabundant in energy, and we end up experiencing addictions, autoimmune disorders. There's a million reasons why. And so I really thank you for that. I thank you for that question. It's very helpful. There are a number of reasons. So I hope that answers it for you, or at least a little bit. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here, you guys. And I hope some of you guys, I know a few of you because you've been talking to me, have been doing these castor oil packs. And the reason why, because we also had that question, Joyce, why are we actually doing this? Which is very good. Well, the reason why we're doing castor oil packs, for those of you guys that join in on that, is because that's going to be one of the processes that's going to give you a direct experience in opening up those pathways. Oh, Carrie's doing it during class. That is awesome. I love it. I've started doing it before we go to bed because, it's a process. Although this is a really good time, perfect time, if you're hanging out at home and you can just lay there with this, with this thing on your chest. No, it's beautiful. It's so healing. And so it's really, I know I'm talking about it every week, you guys. I know I'm talking about it every single week, but it's one of the things that when you start doing it, it's going to change your body. And the reason why it's good for meridians is because it's going to start reducing and causing an automatic lymphatic movement. They will start to open on their own, and your energy will flow in ways that it's going to blow your mind. And so Luther says, how much oil do you put on the pad? You drench it. You're going to get a big bowl and get that little pad, or, for those of you guys that maybe bought it online or you have your own method, that's okay, but you're going to really get it. It's very much Luther. It is a drippy, oily thing that you are going to put on your body and lay on a towel and maybe a trash bag underneath the towel on your bed for an hour. And over the oil, you can put another. Plastic grocery bags are incredible because it's like, there you go, there's your layer. You don't have to get the oil everywhere, but put a plastic grocery bag or some saran wrap over the actual pad itself, almost like you're kind of sticking it on your body, which for some people, you guys, it feels weird, and you're like, I don't want to put this thing. That's okay, you don't have to. I didn't actually want to do it at first. I resisted it for years, and then I was like, whoa, that's why someone in my head kept telling me to do that. But anyway, you're going to cover it up, and then you're going to get a heating pad or just a hot water bottle and just lay it on your body for about an hour. And what you're going to find is you will literally go into this, I think it's the parasympathetic, like you'll just go into this. After a while, your body gets sleepy and you drift off, and that's perfect. And you're going to notice that it's literally going to dump toxins. You're going to get these red splotches on your body where the heat pack was. And what it's doing is it's causing your body to start to open up and create just a different layer of sensitivity and openness. And honestly, if you have problems with the gut, you guys, if you have problems with inflammation anywhere, it will literally change it. Yes, you soak the cloth in oil. Absolutely. It's literally what you do. And you can use the same one over and over again, you guys. That you put it in a plastic baggie, like a Ziploc bag. It's going to be, it's going to be drippy and goopy. That's kind of how it is. Healing is it's a messy process sometimes. It's literally transformed my life. I guarantee you, Luther, if you do it a few times, you're going to be like, what? Are you serious? This actually works? Because all of a sudden after that, you're going to walk around the house or something, and you're going to be like, whoa, my hips or my stomach or my chest, you're going to be like, oh, this weird kind of looseness comes in. Very interesting. Anyway, sorry to always go on these castor oil pack rants, you guys. Right at the end of this, I'm like, going on and on. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. Let me know how you're doing. One of the things that will happen for us after opening up the kidney meridian, specifically kidneys, Yes, Roxana, your waistline will shrink 100%. I guarantee it, especially if you are dedicated and if you can find a way to force yourself to take 1 hour a day. I know it's hard for us, dude. It's like, oh man, really got to take a whole hour to put this thing on your body. Yeah, lay there with an hour. And after 3 days of it, actually, after the first day alone, you're going to feel a change and you're going to be like, whoa, wow, I feel really good and open afterward and relaxed. And, but yeah, you will literally, your inflammation will start to shrink. Your tongue will change too. The color will change. Right here on your face, this is a place, especially because of the stomach meridian, you guys. When we learned on week 1, stomach starts right here. I even have a little bit of a puffiness right there. Yep, you can put it anywhere on your body, and absolutely, yeah. In some cases, if people are okay with, rubbing oil on yourself, because not everyone likes it, but you can put it on your joints. Yeah, it was shown to me, I guess it was just kind of came in for this class. A lot of times we do a detox thing. This time we're doing castor oil. But anyway, thanks you guys. Thanks for bearing with the long castor oil rant. Yes, it will totally, it'll help your inflammation go down. Absolutely. And so we are essentially done, because I know we did a very long class today, you guys. I know it's a long time. So if you guys need to get out of here, feel free to bounce. You're going to get the recording in a little while. As you know, it takes a while to render. But in our next meeting, everybody, we're going to be working with some very new territory for many of us as we dive into the concept of emotional and energetic pH value. Going to help us understand why some of us are attracted to narcissists, why they're attracted to us, why we always find the same kind of relationships and people that treat us the same sort of way, and why we always go into those situations, et cetera, and especially our suspicion about people as well. We're going to be working with all that stuff next week. And so, cool. I don't see any other questions, so I thank you guys for hanging out today. Really, really good job. And please do a before and after photo, especially if you're one of the people that's just going to start doing the castor oil packs, because, my Lord, you're going to see a crazy change. You're going to be like, whoa, I actually look different. But anyway, in the meantime, you guys, we're going to get out of here. It's been a long day. I love you guys. We shall return.